There, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We all know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. What are you up to there?
Hey, Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Services, Crime Stoppers. So since the groundhog didn't see a shadow, we have 6 more weeks of breaking bond.
At least.
At least 6 more weeks. So that's pretty cool.
Joining us today is Ray Hunt. Ray Hunt, introduce yourself.
I'm Ray Hunt, Executive Director of the Houston Police Officers Union. Glad to be here today.
Yes, you sure are. One of the things that we want to talk about, and you and I, you haven't been on here for a little bit, and I know you like to make this point as much as I do. The Constitution has always been the same. Every defendant gets a bond, which they should get a bond. But let's go back to in the past where if you were out on bond and you violated the bond, especially if you violated 1 or 2 bonds, what would happen? The judge is going to revoke your bond.
Revoke your bond, you're no bond, and you stay in jail until your trial. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. But that's not what happens.
That's right.
It used to be, what's my favorite adage?
One bond per customer.
Bond per customer.
One bond per customer.
That's not happening. So one of the things we started looking at was particularly the so-called nonviolent offenders, because everybody says nonviolent offenders, we shouldn't be keeping them locked up. But nonviolent offenders, and I'm sure, Ray, you'll probably back me up on this, generally wreak more havoc in a community than do a good percentage. Most people don't go around killing people for a living, but people will break into your car, break into your business, steal your property, because that's what they do. And we continue to let them back out to do what they do best.
You know, burglary of a motor vehicle is a nonviolent offense, they claim. But let me tell you something. I worked night shift for 18 years. You go to an apartment complex because somebody sees somebody looking in cars. You get out there, the guys jump the fence. There's 45 cars that have been hit. There's 45 cars that have broken windows or cars that have been gone through. That's 45 people that can't go to work the next day. Right. That's 45 people that can't take their kids to school. People say this, and then the one person that sees them and goes outside to confront them and they shoot them, now it's no longer a nonviolent offense. Now it becomes an aggravated robbery.
And there are people that if they got up and their car's gone and they can't get to work that day, it's like this domino effect. They could end up losing their job. They could end up losing where they live because they don't have their job anymore.
Or can't go to dialysis or whatever they use their car for, it's not available to them. That's what happens with these nonviolent offenders. They cause complete problems. And when they do break into cars, lots of times they do more damage than what they actually stole that was in there. They might rip stuff out of there. They might steal your tires. They might ruin the car while they're stealing the tires because they let it fall down on the concrete after they've removed them. And it costs the folks a tons of money. People watching this, they know they've been victims of it.
One of the offenses that's always bothered me that's labeled nonviolent is burglary.
Yeah.
Burglary is considered a nonviolent offense. And I've always said, yeah, it might be a nonviolent offense. That's because you're lucky you weren't home when they break in. Break in when you're home, something's going to happen to them. But again, we keep on labeling these types of offenders. And that's why you have a whole industry, particularly the retail industry, that is suffering because they can't, people just walk in their stores and walk right out. That's just insane how we just do this.
Shoplifting is not a violent offense until they strike the person who's trying to stop and becomes a robbery.
That happened last week.
Yep, all the time.
Yep.
Before I forget, let's talk about Joe Aguirre. We did him. What was it last week?
Joe Aguirre, we did I think we did a month ago.
Yeah.
He was the leader of this airport auto theft ring. And when you drop your car off at the airport, you go to park, you go wherever trip you're going, you come back and your car is gone. And particularly they like trucks.
Yeah.
Trucks was their big MO on that. So he's been in and out nonstop. So the last time we did a story, he was on, was it 12 bonds, I want to say?
Yeah.
He was on 12 bonds, but he was in custody. And then I did what I like to do. I do follow-ups because I like to see if they're still in custody.
Sure.
And sure enough, he was out on bond again. And then 1 week after he was out on bond, they issued a bond forfeiture warrant. So now he has, hold on, let's do 10, and we'll do another hand right here. 14 warrants out for his arrest. 14. And when you have, and your officers see this, you got a guy for 14 warrants, that puts you guys in big time jeopardy.
Yeah.
Unless he's the worst thief of all time, he's probably done 20 for each one of those that we catch.
Right.
So it just doubles and triples and quadruples.
Are your folks, our officers, still kind of seeing the same people arresting the same people over and over again?
Yes, and definitely auto thefts are a big deal right now. I think we're up 13% this year already. And these are people who are taking them to chop shops. I think you've looked at some different persons who are out on multiple bonds who've done this, but they're stealing these trucks. They're either reventing them and selling them to unsuspecting people who find out later that they're stolen, or they're chopping them up at a chop shop and selling for parts.
Yeah.
And it's big money for these folks.
One of the things too that I don't understand is if you've got a defendant, they've got a history of violating the bond condition, or it's like they failed to appear a few times, and still a judge will say, well, okay, we'll give you another chance. We'll put you out on bond again.
Las Vegas will take odds on almost anything, but I bet they wouldn't take odds on people
Right.
bonding out for the fourth or fifth time, coming back to court the next time like they're supposed to. They're not even that stupid.
Right.
No, so when you look at this guy, one of the guys we're looking at, he's the leader of this organized theft ring. He's got a bunch of co-defendants. Heck, he's even got his own children involved. So they go around stealing cars. They bring it to his shop, then they chop up the cars and they sell it for parts. This guy that we're going to be featuring, he's been on bond since 2019. And that's not even looking at his prior criminal history, which is all over the state of Texas.
Which is extensive.
So he's out now. And what made him even more troubling to me was 3 counts of engaging in organized criminal activity. And Ray, tell me what is exactly that?
Basically what you just described. You've got 5 or 6 people who are out here stealing cars for you. You're running the chop shop. You're paying these people for bringing them in. They go steal them. They bring them in. You chop them up. You sell the parts. That's engaging in criminal activity.
I mean, okay, 1 time, 2 times, 3 felonies charged for engaging in organized criminal activity since 2019. You've got a continuous family violence charge. You have an auto theft charge. You have another aggregate theft charge. His bonds right now total $750,000, and he's back out.
And when you look at somebody that, okay, if you're involved in organized criminal activity, that's the way you make a living, pretty much, right?
That's exactly what he's doing, and he's supporting his son in this case.
And people that have done this for many years, I would not think that they would fall into the category where we can rehabilitate this person, or it's just not fueled by drugs. It's not bad decisions. This is their profession. This is their profession. And let me tell you something. 5 years ago, someone like this would already be in prison serving time because he would have already pled to a case. Now they know you're looking at 4, 5, 6 years before you're ever going to get to trial. Why would you plead to any of these if you can just keep on getting them stacked? Because eventually they're only going to charge you with one. They're going to let you plead on one after 5 or 6 years, and they're going to dump all the rest. That's just how you have to do it. You have so much of a backlog. And we're in a position right now in the state of Texas where there's all kinds of prison space.
Plenty of prison space. And the stat I heard the other day was we're having less than 1 felony trial a week in Harris County. And all the courts total, 1 per week. You're never going to catch up on a backlog when you're doing that kind of stuff. These judges should be working 24/7. They should have 3 or 4 crews, just like we do, to try to get a handle on this. If you don't, you're going to continue having problems. I heard the other day, they said, wow, shootings are down. First thing I said was, then several gang members must be in prison, must be in jail right now for some reason for shootings to be down.
Right.
They don't just stop doing it and go get a job at Walmart. That's not how it works.
Right.
If you look at the murder rate, when we started building more prisons in the early mid-90s, right? Murder rate was high up to like 92 or 93. And then you had a huge decline where it was basically 250 or so forth. And then all of a sudden, boom, you have this tremendous rise that we're seeing in the homicide rate. And that's because we stopped putting people in prison as well. No one wants to do that correlation. You hear this term mass incarceration of people. I'll tell you what, if you look at that 15-year time period when crime was down, there's a reason. And as we like to say, when we look at the time gap between some of these cases here, there's a reason. It's because they couldn't commit the crimes because they were locking up. We like to say there was a lull between 2010 and 2018.
The majority of the time, when we look at these cases where someone is repeatedly out on bond, they got a lengthy criminal history, you'll see like a 2, 4, 5 year period where nothing's going on. It's because they were in prison.
That's exactly
I mean,
right.
they couldn't commit
That
that
is exactly
crime.
right. Exactly. And they were probably getting in trouble in prison.
Right.
And now we have these code words for, and I don't know, it drives me nuts, Ray. I heard once somebody call them justice impacted individuals. And then another person now is using system impacted individuals. I'm going, you know what, whatever cute code words you want to call, let's just call it like it is and stop playing.
And they're in the system because by choice.
Yep, you're exactly right.
Right. I mean, I think we can all agree the majority of people out there, they don't commit crimes. People don't. The majority of people don't do that. You've got kind of a small segment, right, of society that they're in the criminal element and they're not going to leave the criminal element.
And how many of them have you heard he used to be a school teacher or he used to be an executive here? They've never had real jobs.
Right.
Their job is burglarizing your car. Their job is stealing your tires. Their job is stealing your catalytic converters. And then this is what they end up. And
Well, don't you think that most people, if you hit 30, 35, and you haven't had a run-in with the law, you probably aren't going to, or you're not going to end up, waking up one day, I think now I'll be a criminal. Right.
That's right. It starts very young and it continues because that's all some of these folks know. And
Right.
it's easy money for them.
Right.
They don't have to get up at 6 o'clock and go do a job from 6 until 4 in the afternoon. They can simply go out, they can hit a car, they can simply wait in the bank parking lot to see somebody coming out and do a jugging. Whatever it is, it's a quick buck and then go to it the next time.
Right.
You had the story yesterday on the jugging out in the Pearland area, and you go back and you look at those guys' criminal histories, and of course, every single one. Some of them had bond violations, some of them were on probation violations, some of them had warrants out for the arrest, and exactly, that's what they do.
Rarely do we catch a jugger as a first offense of
Right.
anything. Rarely is they got a clean record.
You made an excellent point a few minutes ago. It's like when you catch somebody committing a robbery, they got caught that time. They've done it X number of times before they got caught.
Most of the time it's hundreds unless they're really, really bad, but it's at least tens of 20s
Yeah.
before they've already been caught.
So the story we're going to feature tonight is a real beaut. He's had 7 bond violation reports filed, 5 in 2023.
Even his own bail bonding company alerted the court, hey, he's not picking up the
They
phone. We
sent
don't know where he
2
is.
documents saying they can't find him, can't locate him. He's violated his ankle monitor. He's violated his curfew. He's obviously violated his bond because he keeps getting charged with felonies. And this goes back to 2019. I mean, that's got to be cardinal rule number 1 when you're on bond is don't commit another crime, especially a felony.
That's something everybody has, no matter what you're out on bond for, right? You're being told, do not break the law, don't get a new criminal
And
charge.
it's all the honor system and none of them are honorable.
They're not.
3 times in this case, there's been motion to revoke bonds. None of them have been granted, period. And guess what? He's back right back where he is out in the community again.
And
So-
yeah, I think that's important to make the comment that the DA's office, and I've been a big critic of the DA's office many times, but the DA's office thousands of times last year recommended bonds to be revoked. And
Yeah.
the judges have said, no.
I'd say probably, wouldn't you agree that in the majority of breaking bond reports that we've done, they're in the file, there's either a motion by the DA's office to revoke or they want a really extremely high bond.
Well, like, for example, in this case, when he was originally taken into custody because he served multiple stints in prison, they asked for no bond.
Yeah,
That was in 2019. They asked for no bond.
Yeah.
They continue to ask for no bond, but he continues to get bond after bond after bond after bond. So, do I blame the offender? Yeah, of course you do. But you know what? I blame our system more because we keep putting him out to do what he does best.
Absolutely.
I mean, would you say that the revolving door at the courthouse has slowed down or stopped at all?
It's just like it was.
It is.
When I tell you that less than 1 felony trial is taking place each week, that's not the DA's fault. That's the judges
Right.
not having trials.
And-
And most of those trials, I'm telling you, are visiting judges doing the trial, not
Yeah.
the elected person.
Right. And again, I don't think the average person realizes how much power a judge has, because it's like, okay, I'm the judge. This is my court. If I say, hey, I'm going to take off, for tomorrow, or we're not going to have court, or I could do that as the judge.
There are some judges in Harris County that will actually have motion to suppress hearings after the trial starts, because if they then throw it out, the trial's already started, now you can't try them again.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for it to start instead of doing it beforehand. They want to dump these people out. They want to clear their dockets. They don't care about our safety. And I don't care any judge out there that says differently. If you're not holding trial for felons and you're not doing your job and holding these people accountable, it's your fault. It's your fault when we hear someone getting killed, and we all know that when it comes in, we're going to hear a lengthy record. They're going to be on multiple bonds, and those judges' names are going to be on those bonds saying, well, that's what we had to do. The jail's too full to keep them in there.
Yeah, or this pat answer of, I have to. Yeah. The Constitution says I have to. You can revoke somebody that violates their bond.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Am I right?
It's going to be an interesting segment tonight. let's just put it that way. We have a father and son duo.
Yes.
We have a whole crew right here, and you're really not going to believe. Like I said, it was like trying to play pinball, trying to keep up with this guy, and not just in Harris County, but all over the state. But he's here and he's back, and more than likely, we haven't seen the last of them.
Randy, I applaud you for doing this, but every time one of these persons get arrested for something serious, we know that we probably heard them on here. We probably see them featured on here. We know that they're going to have multiple bonds. They're probably going to have an ankle monitor that's been cut off or still on there, and they don't care.
Right.
It's just that people are numb to it now, and they know that here we go again.
Right.
They're just used to it, and it's sad.
But we're going to keep beating the drum, aren't we?
We've been doing this for how long?
More than 3
years now, or something like that. So if you would have told me that we would have had a continuous segment on local news on the same subject for over 3 years, that's unheard of.
Right. Yeah.
Especially in the news industry.
Andy goes all the way back to 1986 whenever he was trying to send people back to prison for violating their parole.
Right.
Now here he is continuing.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Be sure to tune in to Fox 26 News at 9 tonight for a really good breaking bond segment. Ray Hunt, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, be kind to yourself and everyone else. Thank you.